Welcome to another rant here. Um, about a movie called Nonnas. It is. I just watched it like 5 minutes ago. It is such an amazing movie. I the ah I have to talk about it because it is without a doubt one of the best feel good movies I have ever watched. It is incredible. It is incredibly made and it is amazing. So, this movie is from the USA. It's right now on Netflix, and it is so great. So, this is the movie title. The movie, what is it called? Card. And it is absolutely gorgeous. So, the director is Steven Chopsky, I think. I don't know if I pronounced it right, but it is so amazingly great. It is a movie about a man who, obviously, I'm going to spoil the movie, so if you want to um, watch it. It's a great movie. It's a feel good movie about a guy who wants to open an Italian restaurant on Staten Island in New York, and the cooks are Nonnas, so Italian grandmothers, and it's such an amazing story. So, um, the guy you see in the middle behind the Nonnas, he is a person who loved the food of his mother. That you can see in the first scene. So I just threw together this little presentation, I don't know, so I can talk about it. In the first scene of the movie, you see how his family is at a party, I think, and his grandmother and his mother are cooking something in the kitchen, and he's like really interested in it, and he tries to, well, help them. Not really help them, but just to watch his parents and his grandmother do the cooking. And then we get an absolutely gorgeous montage of Italian food getting um, handed around, getting eaten, getting cooked. And this camera work from Florian Ballhaus is, I love it. It is insanely good cinematography. Like, the there were shots, um, how do I say it? Very fastly cut from one food getting handed over to a food getting cooked, to seeing the whole family laugh, to see them dance, to see them eat, enjoy the food, and then back right again to a close up of the food that is getting handed over the table. It's really amazing. The food looks so delicious. I'm so hungry right now. You cannot imagine it. So, um, yes, the cinematography absolutely gorgeous. Like, I love it. Also, there are other shots in the movie. I'm probably going to talk about some others right now, but I don't have really a structure. It's just a rant because I want to say how good this movie is. So, after the scene, we see that his mother has died and is now not the wedding, the funeral, where he sits very depressed on the couch, and we see his best friend Joe try to help him go through the pain, and everyone leaves him his favorite foods and stuff. And over the course of a couple of weeks, he tries to recreate the recipes of his mother so he can get the taste of it, especially the gravy. I think I pronounced it right. It is the sauce that they make in Italy, or they name it sauce gravy or gravy. I don't know really. Um, and that is something he wants to recreate the whole movie along. And then his friends, his friend Joe and his wife, they are like really family. they say to him, yeah, you need to do something new in your life, get a new hobby or a girlfriend or something like that. And he has the money from the insurance of his mother that has died, so he has a lot of money. And he goes on a little Italian market on Staten Island because he doesn't live on Staten Island. I don't remember where he lived originally. I think he lived originally in Brooklyn. Brooklyn, yes. And he got to Staten Island, and there was this Italian market. So everything was Italian, flags were around, and he found an old friend of his mother. You can see her in the picture on the left, the one with the blonde hair that is holding the bowl of salad or noodles. And he talks to her, and then he meets his crush from high school, his high school sweetheart, I think it's called in English. Now all grown up, and they talk, and he's like really happy to see her, but she is married. He thinks she's married because she has a ring on. And then he goes around the market, and then he finds an abandoned building which is for sale. And then he got this dream of opening a restaurant where he makes the Nonnas cook. And so he buys it, and then he goes to his friends and he tells like, "Oh yeah, like you said, I need to try something new. So I'm planning to buy a restaurant." And then Joe says like, "No, you can't do that. You don't know nothing about restaurants. You don't know anything about it." And he's like, "Oh, I already did, so I'm sorry." And because Joe was a contractor, he helped him revenerate, yes, the whole building. And he takes out loans and everything to get more money so he can renovate it completely. The guy in the middle, which name I right now forgot. Shit. Oh no! I'm sorry. His friend is not Joe, but he is Joe. His friend is Bruno. I'm sorry, I got that mixed up right now. But yes, and he goes around and finds Nonnas that would cook for him. For example, the blonde lady, he asked her, and the lady with the white hair was also a friend of somebody that he asked. Oh no, she was in the what is it called? Where the old people live, so where they get taken care of. And she's a very aggressive Italian woman that screams, "This is not Italian food. What are you giving to me? It's ketchup in it." To the personnel at the place where old people live. I don't know the name right now, but yes, very funny. And she, he convinces her to come work in the restaurant. Then the person on the right, she was a nun, and she saw on Craigslist the opening for for cooking. So she quit being a nun and got to the restaurant. And then the person with the red hair, she is right now, um, well, in the time of the story, a hairdresser still. And Joe convinces her to get to his restaurant, even though she owns the hairdressing saloon. Like, it's insane. And it's the convincing he did to make them come to the restaurant was like really sweet, because with the white hair lady, he like guilt tripped her kind of to with Christianity, like, "Oh yeah, you don't love your next," or something like that. And she's like, "Ah, you're using that against me, but now I can say no." And yeah, it was really sweet. And then they all got together and they cooked something, but oh yeah, they cooked something, and everything was great. Like everything was delicious, like the Nonas did. And then they brought recipes from what they want on the menu, and the white haired lady brought a cappuccino. No, it is sheep's head filled with breadcrumbs and stuff. Like it's literally a sheep's head, just the head of it with eyes still in it. Ugh. And they put it in the oven, and then the woman with the blonde hair and with the white hair, they fought because they were from different parts of Italy, and they thought the other part of Italy was shit, so they really like threw food at each other and baguettes, and it was a fun scene. It was really funny. Also, the camera work on this one was great, I think. It was like fun pacing around. And then she did something on the oven, so it set on fire, and the kitchen nearly burned down, but they distinguished it. The next day, or sometime later, the inspector came to see if the place was ready to take on business, which it wasn't, because there was a fire and the walls are not good, and also there were carbon dioxide in the oven, which isn't healthy, so he couldn't open. But he didn't tell that his friend Bruno, the constructor that built the place literally from the ground up, which he was very angry about. And this scene is also a scene which I love the camera work of Florian Ballhaus so much, because they are fighting and you can see that the camera is getting like closer to them, and while they are fighting is like slightly shaking and getting into in it's getting an angle, like I don't know, it was like 5 degrees, but it was very subtle, so that you just get it into your subconscious. And I thought it was really beautiful, really really great camera work. And then they fought, and Bruno said his mother, Joe's mother, wouldn't be proud of him for throwing away his life and his money into this business, which he cannot even open right now because the inspection didn't pass. And it was it was bad, because he did this all for his mother, because he wanted to get the feeling of family into the restaurant. He even named the restaurant after his mother, I mean. So, yes. And after the fight, he had to break it down to the Nonnas that they couldn't open, and they were like really depressed because of that, because they thought now that they have something to fight for again, to live for again. And then the nuns started praying, and it was very interesting, because right before she started to pray, she said like, I don't want to go back there, I don't want to work again as that. And it's like really funny self imagining a nun in a restaurant that's like, I don't want to go back to the monastery, no, 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 no. Yeah. And right after that, his high school crush, um I don't know the name, fuck, his high school crush came back, and because he asked her for help, because she's a lawyer, in the manner of trying to get around or getting into a loophole so they can still open, but it didn't work. But she found out that the inspector that they had was a corrupt pig. So he's like, oh yeah, 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 certificate is here. It's everything good now. Just let me go, because he didn't want any trouble. And then they had the certificate. He got back to Bruno, his friend. Oh, there's also a very important part of the story that I forgot to tell you. Forgot to tell. Bruno has a car, which is very important to him. It's the car of his father, and is like these really shiny old timer cars that people worship. They polish it every day so it looks exquisite. Those kind of cars. And he had one. And he sold it so he had enough money to pay his crew for the renovations of the building. So he literally gave up one of the most important things in his life because of his friend Joe. But this Joe didn't know of that. And when he found out, he was like, "You sold your car? Why? I would never ask you because of that." And then Bruno said, "Yeah, of course you wouldn't ask me. But I did. It was my call, my decision. And I saw you happy, so it's okay." And then, like, they made up, and they were back together as friends. Also, really wholesome scene. Then they get everything back to normal, and they opened the restaurant. On the first day, they did not have a single customer because there was a storm outside and everything was bad. There are also some subplots, I have to throw it in right now here, with the Nonnas, because every Nonna as her own has like a story. Because, for example, the nun also left the convent because she was a lesbian and she loved another nun, but she had to leave because, lesbians aren't so well seen as in the church. the the woman with the white hair, she didn't talk to her children at all. Like, she was cut off. And those are like some subplots of those Nonnas. So again, back to they opened, no one came because there was a storm outside, and then weeks passed, no one came, just friends and family of the people of the Nonnas, and they didn't earn any money really. But that wasn't because they were just bad, but because of the other Italians on the market, for example, bad mouthing them. Like, they said, no, don't go there, blah blah blah, because like they said, oh, they are using the Nonnas as a gimmick, abusing them, and they also didn't like that he wasn't from State Island, Joe. So because he's from Brooklyn, that was one reason why they didn't get any customers. Well, the main reason. And the other one was that they weren't famous. So Joe tried to write to every paper, get the message out, and he did a very drastic thing. He got into a TV, not audition, but a studio, where a person was sitting there who critiques restaurants. Like, he broke in basically, like, past security, everything, just to deliver him some food and say to him, yes, we have a great restaurant. I want that you review it. And he's like, no, I'm full to January and you should have planned better. So get the fuck out of my studio. But he left the food. And after Joe left, the critic ate the food and was like, okay, this is interesting. So he sent one of his underlings, I wanted to say, but one of his apprentice, or like the people that are employed by him, to the restaurant. And right at the time, Joe was throwing a goodbye party because he had to close the restaurant. So he had like one final big party with everyone in the family. And this is one scene that was really emotional and really good because, again, the camera work was the same as in the first scene, where food was getting gifted around and people were happy, shots of the family, then it gets again shots of the food, the people cooking the food, and it was such a great scene. Then they all ate, and unknown to Joe and all the other people at the diner, at the restaurant, there was this critic, or well, the underling of the critic, also in the mix, eating the food. And at the end, Joe asked the Nonnas to come forth out of the kitchen, and everyone stood up and clapped for them, and they had a big applause, and it was so wholesome. Also, because Joe saw his, like in his mind, saw his own mother and grandmother standing with the Nonnas and also giving a bow. And it was such a great scene. Like, really. Also, the music, the soundtrack in this film is also great. I love it. It was like songs about Italy and, well, of course, food, Italian restaurants. And then the next day, he wanted to close the restaurant, but then he got from Bruno a newsletter where the critic, well, the underling of the critic, had had written about the restaurant, how beautiful it is, how you are treated like family in there, and they opened and it was full house again. Everyone wanted to eat there. It was beautiful. The nun, I think she tried to get back to Isabel, the other girl, the other woman she fell in love with, and the white hair woman. She called kids again, and oh, it was also great camera work again. Then, with all this happening, Joe, the last scene, oh, exquisite. The last scene was Joe going outside of the restaurant, seeing it was full, seeing the Nonnas worked in the kitchen, and standing before the restaurant, and the name of his mother, the name of the restaurant above the glass windows. And I cried. Like, actually, it was so beautiful. The camera work slowly going up to the name, which is illuminated by lights, and then going back to Joe into his face and seeing him smile, and then going again into the restaurant, seeing everybody dance and clap their hands and have great music, and it's like a party. The Nonnas dance with everyone, and it's like Italian family spirit in there. It was beautiful. And his high school sweetheart, which was always with them and helped them rebuild also the uh, restaurant. He saw her, and by this time he already knew that she didn't have a man because the ring on her finger was because she's a widow. And there's one sentence of the woman with the blonde hair on the left which really stuck with me. It is, don't let hurtful ends come in the way of beautiful beginnings. Ah, beautiful. I love that sentence. It stuck with me right now. So he came over to her and kissed her. And it was such a beautiful scene. And the last scene was the camera going to the main door of the restaurant and then this open shield just hanging there. Beautiful. It was such an amazing movie. And it's actually based on a true story. There is still a restaurant called Nonnas, or not called Nonnas, but called the name of Joe's mother in Staten Island. It is still open, and there are still Nonnas, just Nonnas working there. And at the end of the movie, you can see the actual people that work there, and the actual Joe and the actual Bruno. And it is so emotional to see, like, yeah, this is a real restaurant, this is a real story. It is a great movie. I just have to say, everyone should watch it. It is a really nice feeling good movie. Just watch it. It is insanely good.